sometimes you guys get to use some pretty large firecrackers.
Yeah, so Anfo is an explosive that comes in a bag.
Welcome to Dirt Magic, a podcast chronicling the Sierra Beach Trail Stewardship's mission of building sustainable recreation-based communities through stewardship, job creation, and world-class events. Providing quality outdoor experiences through trail construction and maintenance in the Lost Sierra. I'm your host, Martin Scheel. On this episode of Dirt Magic, we invite the SBTS Pro Trail Crew in for a casual conversation about digging in the dirt, high-flying river jumps, and exploding trees. That's right, exploding trees. The SBTS Pro Trail Crew creates the most public interface of the stewardship and is literally where the dollars meet the dirt. Since the birth of the stewardship, the Pro Trail Crew has built over 215 miles of brand new trail, maintained over 2,700 miles, and helped manage over 9,300 volunteers. The bottom line? The dirtier this crew gets, the more fun we all have out on the trails. We begin with a stroll down the history lane of the trail crew with SBTS Executive Director Greg Williams. After that, it's a potpourri of good times, great work, and getting dirty with SBTS Trail Crew Boss Henry O'Donnell and SBTS Pro Trail Crew members Zach Poh, Andrew Berger, Josh Kluger, Evan Olsen, and Dominique Cavilia. And a forewarning. Trying to wrangle this crew onto one live recording session was like wrangling cats in a bathtub. Some are in the studio, and others are out in the wild lands of the Lost Sierra and having to use old technology. Basically, a soup can and a string line. Well, let's tighten up that string line and press record as we welcome SBTS Executive Director Greg Williams. Well, Greg, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Marty. Good to be here.
Yeah, it's always nice to have you back on Dirt Magic. Today, a little bit later on in the show, I'm going to have some of the crew members from the SBTS Pro Trail Crew. And it's interesting that using that term is normal for us now in our day-to-day business with all the work that our trail crew does. And obviously that's where that's what most folks get to see is the work that they do, either by new trails or maintaining trails or refurbishing old ones. But, you know, for you personally, Greg, over 30 years ago, you were guiding folks up into the Downeyville area and on the trails. And I imagine that a pro trail crew probably wasn't like a big light bulb going off in your head yet.
Yeah, definitely not. I mean, the stewardship was definitely not even a light bulb. So it's exciting, like where we've come, and also a little nerve wracking having these families, depend on everything that we do, and writing grants and soliciting funds. It's we don't take it lightly. It's a big responsibility, and at the core of it, we just wanted to have trails that were well maintained, and in some cases just keep them open because they were threatened to be closed.
Well, yeah. So back in the late 80s, early 90s, when you were visiting Downeyville and riding your bike, and then when you started bringing people to the trails, at that point, who maintained them? I mean, was there another private group? Was it the Forest Service? I mean, how did those trails stay open, and how did the spring trees that are all done? How did those get removed?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, my first couple times up there, I didn't even think about it. I was just more like trying to survive. It was, but then I would see every now and again like some dirt bikes out there with saws. So there was a group of local guys that rode dirt bikes, and then the Forest Service kind of revived this historic system through OHV funds. So California has an off-highway vehicle grant process that the forest was able to tap into some funds for dirt bikes. And that's where, like you see some of the metal bridges that are in Downeyville, like over Polly and Butcher and Lavazola Creeks, pretty major projects. So those were being done by the Forest Service using mostly OHV funding. So, yeah, but again, like in the beginning, you're just trying to hang on and survive. You weren't thinking about who maintains those trails, but and going back to like that time era was Bill Hare, who was, for those of you that know Metal Mike, he was one of my shuttle drivers in the beginning, but it's his dad that was running that program, that rec program. So I got to know Bill in the probably early to mid 90s, and started learning about what it takes to keep those trails open.
Yeah, there's probably some irony there in that the folks that rode the Downeyville downhill trails, that obviously Bill was a big part of keeping those open and maintained, and was definitely an advocate of ours before, and I'm sure after he retired. But his son Metal Mike, giving the most exciting ride from Downeyville up to Packer Saddle and bursting people's eardrums on the way.
Oh yeah. He convinced me to put a subwoofer in one of the vans, and I don't know if that was a good idea or not, but you could hear that van coming for miles through the canyon.
Yeah, he convinced me to use his iPod for one of the Downeyville Classic background musics, and I learned the hard way never to do that again.
So, yeah, you can't trust him.
Good old Metal Mike. Well, once the the Forest Service just didn't have the resources to put crews and and boots on the ground, at that point, there was a problem. I mean, at this point, you had Yuba Expeditions open, or even prior to that, but you're shuttling people. Closed trails or trails that weren't maintained properly or had felled trees on them weren't exactly going to be good for your business. So something had to be done. And how did it even come about to, like, hey, first of all, we need to bring volunteers to the trails and get them to work, and not just drink ice cold adult beverages the entire time. But then from that to creating an organization, what was what sparked that?
Well, what sparked it was a big winter and a major wind event that took down like hundreds of trees across the trail, and nobody was really doing like actual drainage work. So the water would just run down the middle of the trail, which was kind of made it exciting, I guess, back in the day. But as more people started to use it, the trails really got cupped and started channeling a lot more water down them. But really, it was like the trails were impassable because of how many trees. And so like my early kind of spring scouting mission started to realize, like, man, this is a disaster. So I called Bill Hare and let him know, and he let me know that his budget was shot. They weren't going to have a crew that year. And at that point too, like Downeyville, really by the 2000s, this was like 2000 and 2001, that winter, Downeyville had started to become a little bit dependent on mountain biking tourism. So I went to one of the chamber meetings in town and let people know, hey, this is these trails are a mess. We can't just invite people up and expect them to come have fun and be safe. So convinced Bill and Peggy, who own the pizza place, to, if I could bring people up, they would feed them pizzas and give them cold beers, basically. So I started just calling a lot of my regular customers and invited them up. And we had kind of our first organized trail day there with Bill Hare leading the charge and explaining to people, like, what a Pulaski was, what a McLeod was. We didn't send people out with chainsaws. Bill actually found some funding for a fire crew to come through. And then a few of us learned the hard way how to really nobody got hurt, but we got our first chainsaw stuck in a tree, and it spent about $700 on that saw, and then got it stuck and just had to leave the bar and chain in the tree. Went back and we bought another chainsaw the next day so we could keep freeing up the saws we got stuck. And we just learned like how to do deadfall removal, like on the spot, So yeah, some things you just got to learn for yourself.
Yeah, the chainsaw story is awesome, and it's almost poetic that it started that way. And I'm sure Cosby was probably with you on that one.
Yep, Cosby and Mike Ferrantino, and actually we had gotten it stuck like before that, but Cosby was able to. We didn't have any tools with us other than the saw, and Cosby dug out the bar and chain with a scrench, which is a tool you get with the chainsaw that's part wrench, part screwdriver. So, and we're like, okay, well, we don't want to do that again. And then the very next tree, we just, got it stuck even deeper. So, yeah.
The beginnings of the Sierra Beach Trail Stewardship. We have a getting the chainsaw stuck competition, and the bar was set pretty high.
Yeah.
So from there, in the beginning of the stewardship, when you and some locals there got together to create the Sierra Beach Trail Stewardship, obviously mainly for funding, because there are some funds out there, some government grants, but for the most part, you have to be an organization to get those, a nonprofit for many of them. But even once the SBTS was created and the nonprofit charter was complete, and even some grant money was coming in, at that point, how did the decision get made to even create a professional trail crew? And then at that point, who would have been officially the first hired trail crew member?
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of a mix of Wayne Hoffman, who was working for me in the bike shop, and Henry, who also, he grew up in Downeyville, and then Cosby was on the crew for a while. And I would say probably like after that was, like Troy Morrison, who lived in Quincy. And there was very job to job, it was like, hey, we have some work and you can work on this project. It wasn't like a guaranteed job. I don't think it was really until about 2009 or 2010 that we got some American Recovery and Reinvestment Act funds into the forest, and we had enough experience with managing grants, that we were able to apply for quite a bit of funding, and we put about 30 people to work that next season. But one thing that, with getting grants is that they're all reimbursement. And so I was struggling to kind of make payroll. So I was having to pull from from Yuba Expeditions and from the Downeyville Classic, which were still my own sole proprietorship businesses, to help fund payroll. So it was a struggle. Like it's never been easy. And I wouldn't like say, hey, it's a good idea to take your sole proprietorship and create a nonprofit. But, it also like grew like this tribe and this family of people that, like Henry and Cosby, like we've been working together for over 20 years, and you too, Marty, like we've been together for a long time, working, raising our families up. And, I don't think that would have happened if it would have just stayed as a sole proprietorship and, not had the stewardship start. So those are the long-term benefits.
Yeah, and it's been an amazing ride, and we're moving into 21 years now of the stewardship. But I can probably speak for many past volunteers, staff members, and current staff members that we're all very happy that for a moment in time there was in fact a lending institution called the Bank of Williams.
Yeah.
that kept it moving forward, because I think you're right. Had you not taken that risk and done so, we probably wouldn't be here today. And just the learning curve alone, for the grant side is you find out the hard way that you don't just apply for a grant and get a grant and say thank you. It actually takes someone that knows what the hell they're doing when it comes to not only getting the grant, but servicing the grant, then making sure that all the reporting is done properly. So in fact, you can get that grant again if it's available. And that's staff as well. So, I mean, it just, we've exponentially grown, but, at times, pre-pandemic, I think at one point, we had three trail crews going. We had close to 70 employees at one time, I think, pre-pandemic, and that's just amazing to me at this point.
Yeah, I mean, we're not hitting those high numbers. I think, this last season with, the Yuba staff and the trail crews, and when youth crew comes on, I think we were like hovering in the high 50s. We have 4 full-time year-round, like grant admin people that manage the grants, that write the grants, manage them, do the field work to go make sure the projects are being done, all the reporting that's required, like, soil management plans, habitat management plans. This is, we're operating at a pretty high level. So the trail crew is like backed up by a really talented team of professionals that, are keyboard cowboys too. So, we don't just send people out into the woods to dig. Like, they're backed up with a pretty strong team of people.
Well, and a young man that you're going to hear from a little bit later on in the show, started his Downeyville career with all of us, probably when he was around 9 or 10 years old. When you first met him, and of course that's Henry O'Donnell, and he's now our SBTS Pro Crew Trail Boss. And we've spoken about Henry before, but I think that success story in and of itself is kind of the epitome, the poem of the stewardship. Especially he married his high school sweetheart, both from Downeyville. They live here in the Quincy area, and the stewardship is Henry's career. And along with Kirsten, working here locally, they've provided a home and a life for their family, and that's an amazing thing. And I think that's pretty impressive. The gentleman you're going to hear a little bit later on in the show, some have been with us longer than others, but Henry has been kind of the backbone of that throughout the decades now. And, I guess he would be a good definition of what the Pro Trail Crew is. But, if you had to describe it today, Greg, if somebody was asking, that's a complete layperson, hey, what's the SBTS Pro Trail Crew? What definition would you give?
Yeah, I mean, they're some of the best. It's like working under Henry now. Like, I don't know if anybody in the country has been responsible or built as much trail as Henry on public lands. Just developing a lot of techniques, especially in the Downeyville area. Like, these trails are historic from the mining era, and then when you get into the Lakes Basin, some of those trails are prehistoric. So some of the techniques that he's using to keep those trails open and enjoyable, and not, especially again, like Downeyville, like the trails, there's so much water running down the trail. Like, sometimes you have to just armor the tread so the water can run down it. That's how it was built. And for them to be able to like learn from Henry is super valuable, and just gather up like skills to be confident in the woods and be safe is important. It's not easy work. Like, these guys are working 10-hour days, 4 days a week, but they're also not staring at a computer all day. So I'm a little bit envious. And their office is pretty amazing place, So I think at the end of the day, like, they enjoy their work. They love seeing people out using the trails and smiling, and it's rewarding. It makes us proud to like have them out there and have the public react in such a positive way, and to have them be, community leaders. Basically, like, they represent the stewardship, they represent their community. It's important.
Yeah, I concur completely. And for us that are in admin, out at events, many times in the office, and for us, getting out on the trails is recreation or to keep our sanity. Even if it's part of the workday or a volunteer workday. But really, the trail crew, that's what. Even though folks may never even see them, unless they're lucky enough when they're working on the trail or if it's one of our volunteer days. But when they're rolling, riding a horse, hiking, running on these trails, that's the payoff. That's the product that our trail crew has produced throughout the decades. And I think it's awesome. That really of what they've accomplished and how they accomplish it. And it's sustainable, and for this area up here, as long as we can keep the funding going from grants and those out in the private world, hint, your support supports us, which in turn supports the trails. So that's why we call it Dirt Magic, as it certainly is. Well, cool. I think these guys are itching to get on here. It's gonna be fun having them join the show from some remote locations in the studio. But Greg, thanks as always. Wanted to give a little bit of the history as you were the spark, the catalyst, that really helped launch this stewardship and create a term, the SBTS Pro Trail Crew, as we continue on. So thanks for everything that you've done in the past and that we continue to do in making Dirt Magic. But appreciate you on this morning and kind of give folks just a little bit of the historical background before we have a little bit of fun with those guys that get dirty every day for us.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Marty. Have fun with the boys.
Folks, as always, appreciate your support. And anytime that you'd like presentations on what our Pro Trail Crew does or the SBTS does, our staff is on hand, and certainly our executive director, Mr. Greg Williams, can always get him out to your neck of the woods and talk to your people and on how you can support us. So, all right, Greg, well, take it easy and have a listen to the SBTS Pro Trail Crew. We'll talk at you later.
Thanks, Marty.
And now let's go to the Dirty Half Dozen.
All right. Well, boy, welcome to our SBTS Trail Crew. And on the show today is Henry, Zach, Andrew, Josh, Evan, and Dom. So we've got a good group. And, of course, that's not all of the Trail Crew. So we're gonna go around the room and do some introductions and just kind of a brief who you are and what you do for the stewardship. And we'll go from there. So a name that's probably synonymous that most people know, Henry O'Donnell, our trail boss. And we'll start off with him because he's been on the trail crew the longest, I think, other than maybe an old codger that we'll talk about maybe a little bit later on. So Henry, give us the scoop. What was your first day, and then how'd you even get to the SBTS Trail Crew?
Oh, thanks, Marty. I guess my first day is pretty hard to remember at this point because that would have been in the fall of 2003. Picking up a couple hours of work after school, building the North Yuba extension from Downeyville to Goodyear's Bar with Wayne Hoffman. And I think we were the very first two paid employees of the stewardship.
There's a pair right there, you and Wayno.
Yep.
Boy, there's a voice more recognizable than mine. All right, Zach, moving on to you.
Yeah, hi, I'm Zach. I came to the stewardship in 2021. I got a heads up from a buddy that works at the cycle shop in town that they were looking for some people, and I was looking for a change of pace. And now I'm crew lead here in Quincy and also the fleet mechanic and keep everything going through the winter.
Nice. Well, good to have you aboard as well. And Andrew.
Yep, Andrew, and this is my second year with the stewardship. I'm assistant crew leader of the Gray Eagle Beckworth crew. We've been mostly out there building the Beckworth Trail the past couple of years.
Yeah, you guys need to get, you need to pick it up on that last mile. I mean, I don't know what's taking you guys so long. It's just all soft dirt up there. Come on.
Less than a mile now.
We're on it. And then Dom?
I've also been with stewardship for 2 years now. And I came on initially just to kind of coordinate the youth crew. So I've been working with the youth crew. That's only like 10 weeks, give or take, depending on the year. And then I'm working with the pro crew outside of that.
Nice. All right, and joining us remotely, Josh. Give us the scoop, bud. How'd you come to the stewardship, and what do you do for the trail crew?
I heard about the stewardship through a friend and joined about 3 years ago. And I'm on the Downeyville crew with Evan here. We've really been enjoying ourselves.
All right, we're gonna keep going this route, and Evan, give us the scoop, bud.
Hey, so I've been with the stewardship for 2 years now on the Downeyville crew. I've been building trail for myself and just kind of privately for a while, so something I wanted to do, and basically we've just been out maintaining the existing Downeyville system as well as starting some new reroutes and getting some new trail built. It's been pretty fun.
All right, Henry. So, way back when the stewardship began, and obviously we heard some history from our executive director and founder, Greg Williams, prior to you guys coming on the show. And, the need was there to work on the trails in the Downeyville system. I mean, that's where it all began. And everybody riding the Downeyville system and the Forest Service, just need some help, needing partnership and getting out and making sure that those trails were rideable and hikeable and usable by everybody. But, in the beginning, what was the SBTS Pro Trail Crew? Was it literally just you and Wayno, or how did you guys know what trails to work on? I mean, there was, it's a little bit different now when I look at boards and your guys' office. And, obviously we've grown up a lot. But yeah, in the early days, what was the Trail Crew?
Well, it was basically, Greg and a bunch of friends and some beer and some tools and trying to help out the forest. And the beer was always the lure to get volunteers in, because the crew wasn't a paid trail crew. It was all volunteer from the start until 2003 when Greg was able to secure a RAC grant that helped build the North Yuba extension. But prior to that, I was a young teenager, and I was even involved with a couple volunteer days on the divides right above Downeyville. And more or less in a nutshell, the way the stewardship formed was Greg connecting with the forest, knowing that the trails were at risk of closure because the forest didn't have the resources to do the maintenance to keep them open. And he was, running a private bike shop shuttle company in Downeyville at the time, and he needed those trails to stay open, not to mention just the passion for mountain biking in general and keeping those trails open for everybody. And the roots of the stewardship was really all about mountain biking, but then it quickly evolved into keeping the trail systems open for everybody. So that first crew was an army of volunteers until Wayno and I first started getting paid.
Yeah, I remember those days, and yeah, there's definitely a lot of beverages and good grub food. Boy, I don't know how many pizzas we probably went through from the multiple owners of the pizza place, over the years. But and I'm sure the town of Downeyville as well. If those trails are closed, Downeyville, Highway 49 is awesome for folks in their sports cars going out for a Sunday drive, or the car clubs, moto clubs. But the bulk of the people that really were visiting were riding the trails, and without the trails, it made it, I think, a lot harder on Downeyville. Even it's a small town that already struggled without resource extraction of gold and logging, for sure.
Yeah, and the trails were, a bit of a hidden gem. I don't think any of the locals realized the potential when mountain bikes first started coming to town, but at that point it was all historical mining trails, and then it started getting more and more recreational moto use, and that's probably what really kept the trails open through the 80s into the early 90s, was because the mining had slowed down a lot, and motos were getting good enough. People were, just keeping them open, clearing down trees, but no dirt work or real proper trail work happening.
Sure. When do you think, this is probably a guess, when did we start hiring more? When were we able to do that? A couple years later? Was it pretty quick, or?
No, it was a few years later. Greg would probably have better details, but because I worked in the shoulder season, like 2003, 2004, and then I went to work logging shortly after high school. So then I was away from the stewardship for like 5 years, and there was 3 or 4 months worth of work, getting funding like that, but it was kind of trickling in, so it was hard to get steady crew members that want to commit to a job for 3 or 4 months. But I guess 2009 was when I stopped logging and came back to the stewardship, and at that point it was a full-time seasonal position for 4 of us, and then it heck, I think by 2010, we ramped up really quick with a big maintenance grant through PCT, trail work as well as other trails. And I think that season all of a sudden spiked up to 18 people between like 3 different crews.
I'm surprised you went for that logging job. Those banker's hours, Monday through Friday, not a lot of hard work. Can't imagine why you'd want to come back to building trail work.
And I ran a lot of equipment when I was logging, and most of the time it wasn't as physically demanding as the trail work.
Yeah, I remember back even in high school and just out of high school and a little bit of college that in Lake County, the pear sheds, huge, pear sheds up there. And, no air conditioning, being on that line. And I found out real quickly how to use a forklift. Oh, yeah, that's the best job at the pear shed, driving the forklift around. You're not standing underneath that heat, so work smarter. So Zach, what was the lure to come to the stewardship? I mean, Henry's kind of given a little bit of background on what, how the trail crew has grown. But, I mean, did you know what our trail crew was, what we did? Or, what prompted you to, say, hey, I need to apply for this job?
The big thing was, before I came here, I spent 9 years running a shop. And after a while, I just wasn't feeling the appreciation that I once was. And then my buddy Tanner down at the cycle shop, he was telling me, I can't believe I haven't ever thought of this before, but you should go work for the stewardship. It'd be perfect. You built trails all through high school, and it's what you love to do, and you'd be out on your moto and flow testing on a mountain bike. I think it's right up your alley. And I got a hold of Henry and went out and worked with him and Cameron up on Beckworth for a day, and now you guys are stuck with me.
Well, we know Henry's been, a lifelong native of the Lost Sierra. I mean, obviously growing up in Donnieville and now living in Quincy. But is that where are you from Quincy?
Well, I was born in Greenville and then made my way over here. It's just where the opportunity was for my parents when I was growing up. And yeah, we moved out to Spanish Ranch in 2000, and then I was far enough out of town, didn't have a lot of friends. I was just building my own little trails in the backyard.
Yeah, you guys may have gotten over and built some trails around where my house is too, up in the national forest.
Yeah, I was right behind your house for a long time.
Completely legal.
Oh, they were totally legal. Even the wood up in the trees, that was all legal.
Much to my wife's chagrin, some of those trails are used by motos, and she can't get past the sound of the motos like I can. I was growing up with motos.
It's a heavenly sound.
Yeah, I agree. She does not. So that's a dance that I have to deal with. Andrew, for you, what was, first of all, are you local to Quincy or this area of Plumas County?
I live in Gray Eagle. I've lived there for a few years. Before that, Portola. So I've been in Plumas County for 7 years. And then I grew up in Pennsylvania, so East Coast.
Oh, wow, so that's a big change. Yeah.
But yeah, before the stewardship, I was mostly doing concrete construction out here. Did that for a couple years, running equipment, building buildings and roads, and wanted to do something that was going to be a little bit more enjoyable, a little bit more adrenaline, and just getting out into the beautiful place that we live instead of just working on construction sites in town.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. So how'd you find out about the stewardship?
I had known about the stewardship from using the trails for the whole time living out here. I'd seen the logo. I never did a volunteer day, but I'd seen the events and went to the gravel grinder, and so I'd known about them. I just saw that they were looking for some new people, and I decided to give it a try.
Well, that's pretty cool. It's nice knowing that. You guys that moved to the area, been here a while, either lifelong or found a home in the Lost Sierra, and certainly it can be a challenge in rural communities and especially rural counties when what are we almost 70% public lands, national forest here in Plumas County. So and that changes things when the biggest industries sans the mill and logging becomes hospitals, schools, government. It's all the support that communities need, but industry is kind of an interesting thing, and we've certainly tried to charge forward and make a change in that with outdoor recreation. And I would imagine that after building a trail and either riding a bike or a moto on it, it's got to be a little more fun after all the hard work than say working on a road and then just driving your car over it on the way home.
it's a lot more rewarding, and it's like I said, it's a lot more enjoyable doing it too. So it's pretty awesome.
Awesome. Dom?
Yeah, I mean, I think like all these guys, it's just it's the work environment that really like draws you. You know, we get to work in the woods all day. We get to be out there like digging with our friends. But the big lure for me, I guess, was the youth crew. It's a really unique program. Like I really have like looked around and like because it's always been fascinating to me. Like we've got the trail work thing, you know, like building trails. You know, it's a really nice and it works really well with. I'm not going to say it's not skilled labor. It is. There is some skills involved, but a lot of it is just work. Like you're working really hard, and so it's really awesome to get kids out there who like, you know, like you can teach them a couple things and they're swinging tools, and the program specifically here at the Buttes, I think is really special. I think like the fact that these guys are getting paid, they're building these like really, really cool bonds and stuff. And so I just really like was drawn to that. And then since then, like it's evolved into like, you know, great friendships, great just being out there. Like and so really, like these guys are saying too, I think like it's just more than anything, it's an opportunity to be out in the woods, and like do something that you actually like to do, you know. And I feel like most of the jobs in my life, I've been stuck doing something I don't want to do, and so it's nice to be in a place where I'm doing something I actually like doing.
That alarm goes off, and you're like, oh,
yeah.
Yeah, like the movie Office Space, like, man.
Yeah, and there's no doubt we still have that. It still happens like that. But once you're out there, it's a little better.
On those days when it does get to 100 degrees in the Los Sierra, you're like, oh, no.
Yeah, for real.
Well, the youth crew component is really important too, and you know that's a program in and of itself, and something the stewardship has definitely prided itself on for years, and even an award-winning program. And anytime I think you can get a high school age kid to swing a tool, you know, that's outdoors, not on their screen time, you know, the whole time, or on the internet, or working behind a computer. Yeah, and they're learning some skills, some life skills, you know, with all the stuff, you know, beyond the trail work. You know, and who knows? You know, they may come back. There's a reason for them to, if they want to remain here, you know, and start off with a somewhat of a living wage. You know, if they think they can make a go of it, and remain in Plumas County, then I think that's a positive thing too. So I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, out in remote land. So Josh, other than flying high on the Downeyville river jump, you know, what brought you to the stewardship and the Pro Trail Crew?
Oh man, dream job, total dream job for me. I was actually initially hired as a youth crew leader. And then pretty much halfway through my interview, Henry and Mandy offered me a pro crew position with Downeyville. So got on with them, and yeah, it just turned out to be the best job I've ever had. So I've really enjoyed every moment of it. There's definitely been, you know, it's hard. It's a lot of work, and we don't have like machine or, you know, we don't have mini X's out in Downeyville. Everything's handwork, so it's a lot harder on the body, and then we're also riding in every day, so that's part of the draw. But it's also, you know, it's a coin flip sort of. You have a fun time, but you're also exhausted every single day. So I don't know. It's just a dream job for me, and I'm really happy to be a part of it.
So it sounds like, you know, and for those of you, I know, so Josh and Evan are on our Downeyville crew, and Downeyville's definitely some rugged territory. You know, in the Downeyville trail system, there aren't a lot of access roads to bring in vehicles or mini excavators. So I think what you're trying to say is the rest of the crew here, they got it easy. Josh, is that what I'm hearing?
They may think otherwise, but we definitely like to brag about that over on the Downeyville side of things.
So how did you find out about the stewardship?
So much easier riding into this place.
My buddy Jared actually worked in town.
So much harder.
And he told me about the stewardship. I had just finished a trails program with the TCC. It's called the Backcountry Trails Program. It's like a 6-month camping program where you are out doing trail work that whole time and living remotely. And so I had the trails experience, and I knew I really liked it, but I also really love riding and doing work on riding specific trails. So it was a natural draw for me.
And where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Berkeley in the Bay, but we've had family property in North San Juan area for my whole life, so I kind of split my time. I moved up in the North San Juan permanently about 5 years ago. So
nice, awesome. Evan, last but certainly not least.
Howdy, thank you. So I grew up in Grass Valley, downtown Grass Valley. I've lived in Nevada City my whole adult life so far, and I found out about the stewardship. Basically, I didn't live too far from Downeyville, and I'd go out every once in a while on the mountain bike. I actually have a great grandfather that has some ties to Downeyville as well, so I've always known about the area. And growing up, I was always in the racing mountain bikes. It kind of translated into freeride mountain biking, and there wasn't many jumps or trails around, so I'd go off in the woods and build stuff. And I did that most of my life, honestly, my childhood, and I would always build what I wanted to ride. And when I found out, there's legit methods and, just trail crews, you can go out and get paid to go build trail and learn how to build sustainably and work with local and state governments. It just kind of piqued my interest, and Downeyville's a really cool area. So once I forget where I saw the listing, but once I saw a Trail Crew Downeyville application, I was like, I got to go for that.
It was probably in the bathroom wall there at the St. Charles place downtown. And that's always a good it's always a good spot for job listings.
It's honestly been a pretty surreal experience when you're working basically full time for the season in Downeyville, and we kind of go a bit to the shoulder seasons when the weather lets us, and it's empty. It's definitely, you have a few locals you'll see every day, but it's definitely a quiet, a very humbling experience to know that there's these little mountain communities out there still that are just dead silent. And I don't know, it's cool that you're kind of contributing to, basically, I'd say at least 80 to 75% of their economy, by keeping those trails open. There's a little bit of logging, but it's mainly just tons of mountain bikers out there.
Yeah, definitely a seasonal town with the outdoor recreation, and I mean, it's, if we can do our little small part to help those folks visit Downeyville throughout the season and do so responsibly, and if they can save enough to get through the wintertime, then I think that's good all around.
Yeah, no, it's awesome, and the work we do out on the trails, it's pretty fun. Like whenever we start the season up, we're jonesing to get out there and cut some trees. But it was just me and Josh this past season. I think it was probably about 3 months in. We're still logging out the last roads and the furthest parts of the system, and we were going crazy. But it was pretty cool that we were cutting that much wood every day going out. That we're pushing it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, well, cool. Well, thanks. Appreciate that one, Evan, on that one. So Henry, for those that, they hear trail crew, and for us, obviously, we all know what that means. But for the lay person that maybe even someone that's just visiting the trails for the first time that we maintain or even something we build, what does the trail crew do?
We do a lot of different things in the woods. So for starters, you got to be able to let it live out of your backpack for 10 hours a day in the elements, whether it's raining, light snow. Don't usually work in much snow, but on the flip side, it can be up to 100 degrees or more. So just dealing with that in itself sometimes can be a challenge for different people. But then our focus from the beginning has been maintenance to keep trails open. So very basic maintenance is clearing down trees, brushing, where the vegetation's getting thick, and reclaiming the trail. Then another really important focus is erosion control measures, and that's probably, besides just keeping the trails open, we got to control the water, minimize erosion. There's erosion from both traffic as well as from water, and knowing how to address those issues, whatever the cause is, to keep the trails in shape. And on the erosion control side, our main goal is to minimize the amount of soil moving from the trail into any sort of watershed. We don't want to add extra silt to any of the watersheds. And it gets more complex than that. You got to be aware of everything we're affecting, or anything affecting the trail while we're out there working on it. Wildlife, different sensitive habitats. There's even rare plants in places. There's a lot to it. We're right up against private property lines sometimes. All kinds of different stuff. Guess we forgot to turn the phone off.
Yeah. Apparently forgot to turn the ringer off. Now we'll see if the answer machine.
Yeah.
The life of live podcast recording. So that's right. It all comes in. Well, it's interesting when we have the volunteer army out, and you've got 20 or 30 people working together, swinging tools along with you guys, obviously supervising. We're doing a lot of little dirt work, swinging McLeods, Pulaskis, taking some roots out, moving some rocks around. And that's what a lot of our volunteers see, and folks that come up and help us dig dirt, which we greatly appreciate, because we could not complete all the work without the volunteer army. But early season, though, I don't think people realize, especially here in the Huff area, Mount Huff area, post-Dixie Fire, on how many trees are down. And Downeyville, same thing. I mean, Downeyville gets some wicked weather that blows through there in the trail system. And so, the tree removal alone, in the beginning of the season, I mean, how many, I don't think people think like, oh, they had to cut like 10 trees down or off the trail, 10, 15 trees fell, they take their small little chainsaws out and they cut them from the trail, but that's not really the reality.
Yeah. And Huff post Dixie Fire is its own animal compared to Downeyville after a regular winter. And surprisingly, on the Downeyville side, it's usually that like 4,000 to 5,000 foot elevation. If we get a big heavy wet snow, it's just bringing down tons of trees, and a lot of them uproot. And when you have an uprooted tree hanging across the trail that might not even be completely touching the ground, and it's 3 feet in diameter plus, there's some pretty complex cutting to do to get it out. And the Downeyville side is remote, where there's no cell service. As Josh and Evan mentioned, it was really just the two of them a lot this spring, so they're relying on each other for anything that might happen. And then you're in the canyons, where it's a lot of really steep hillside, and sometimes, a lot of the time, you can't just buck a tree out of the trail. You can't simply just get rid of that 4 to 5 foot section. You gotta cut, you gotta cut safely. You gotta get the tree on the ground if it's suspended. You gotta do a lot of other cutting to make things safe for yourself, rather than just clear it out of the trail. And then the other side, being on Huff, or we've worked in many different burn scars over the last few years, and then you're dealing with rotten trees that are falling on their own in any sort of little windstorm, or just their time has come after a burn and they're coming down. And this year on Huff, we did our spring log out, a couple small spring storms, log out after that, got through probably a couple months of the season without doing any rounds. And then I think late September till now, it was like every couple of weeks we go do rounds on Huff, and we're probably averaging 50 trees a day, depending on how much, ground we covered. As high as I think Zach had, Morgan had 89 tree a day.
Yeah, when we put all of ours together between me and Morgan on the motos and then a hand crew running down with some saws, we were well over 100 trees on one day just on the west end of Huff.
Yeah.
So then, guesstimate. How many since the spring log out when the snow melted and through the season now, how many trees do you think you guys have had to cut either down because of danger to the trail or cut from the trail?
On Huff alone, I know we've cleared over 700 down trees this year.
Grief.
And I'm not sure the tally on the Downeyville side, but I know spring logout was pretty aggressive over there. And then got some heavy winds, this fall that, the trail system hadn't snowed yet. Everything was still open to the top of the mountain. And yeah, there was one day where I was just staging tools for a volunteer day and ended up clearing like 20 trees just to stage trees and then tie in with Josh and Evan where they were working.
It's kind of amazing when you have to do tree work, cut trees from the trail or fell them before the volunteers can even out and do their job, just so everybody can stay safe or access the trail. So Josh and Evan, what's your estimate? You think season-wise, how many trees you guys had to clear from the spring thaw up until now, until you guys stopped working on the Downeyville system?
It's hard to say. Like Evan said, we were clearing. We were logging out nonstop for 3 months. Our first 3 months of the season. Yeah, there's the main system stuff seemed a little better than like Craycross Ridge, and there's the stuff that doesn't really get a lot of traffic was really bad, especially like the 2-track roads.
We had a late snow that just brought down a lot of green trees.
Yeah, there was that late snow. A lot of tops would be inverted, stuck in the ground. I'd have to say 300 at least.
Wow.
At least, yeah, at the very least. Probably more. But there's some days, it'd be like around 60 to 70 trees. Like, yeah.
And that's just a normal season.
Yeah. No, well, there was a pretty late snowstorm, and it was really heavy, wet snow, and people were saying a lot of stuff came down, and it was pretty evident.
Yeah, even though we don't have fire on this side of the mountain, we still have a lot of, bark beetle and other diseased trees and a lot of standing deadwood. It's still pretty dangerous when the wind kicks up, and there's still a lot of potential.
Yeah.
And of course the poison oak is always fun on the North Yuba, I imagine.
Oh yeah, no, we love it. It's poison oak right now. It's a mindset. Yeah. That's lovely.
Well, that's a good segue into where we're going next, and for you guys here. So obviously the log out. These are things you guys you have to be certified for. Saw usage. We're talking big trees. I've been out with Henry doing some videos post Dixie Fire and some very large diameter trees, that basically would be, what we call widow makers. You certainly don't want them to come down anywhere near a trail, once the trail was open back to the public, because if it hit you, you'd be, if you even were found, it'd be a done deal, because it would drive you into the earth like a tack nail. But what's the exactly. What's the fun? We've got mini excavators, we've got vibratory plates to help pack the trail down. We've got 2 now powered wheelbarrows that we can get stuff on. But
4.
So what's the
4 of them?
4? We have 4.
Yeah.
See, that's how much I know. So what's the fun stuff? What's the most fun when you guys, like, if it was you woke up that morning, the alarm went off, and said, okay, here comes our 10-hour day. What's the fun day?
It's all fun. Kind of like what Henry was saying with log out in particular. It's like a puzzle. Every time you come across a new mess, it's like you got to figure out where the weight is, where your binds are, and it's a fun challenge.
There was one specific day we got to stiff 50 pounds of ANFO into a tree on the PCT, so that was pretty fun. Those days are pretty cool.
All right, well, since you brought that up, and that's on the list of discussion topics, but since you brought that up, Henry, you gotta. So most people won't know what that term is. I, however, know that it's explosive, and obviously, you guys get to, we have the regular tools, the McLeods, the Pulaskis, those are the, dig dirt, chainsaws, obviously. We've got some large equipment, which I just mentioned before, but sometimes you guys get to use some pretty large firecrackers.
Yeah, so Anfo's an explosive that comes in a bag, like a sandbag. I don't know all the details of it, but we got a project on the PCT for the Downeyville crew to build a retaining wall at the top of a landslide, and the only thing really holding the trail there was this large old white fir, but all of its roots were really exposed. I mean, you could see daylight through the root system. To me, it looked like it could be uprooted in any storm, and if that tree got uprooted, it was going to take the trail with it and whatever work we did above it. So we got a Forest Service blaster to come out and help us, and so we got to pack the explosives, help the blaster get in there, cut a microwave-sized hole into the tree, and then Evan had a harness on and a rope and packed the tree full of explosives. Tom Alling was the blaster, and he did the rest. He always followed his lead on that, and it's something I would like to get a lot more experience with, and all of us working out there in the woods is because we like doing it, and some of that stuff's just fun. You
guys got to blow up a big ass tree.
Yeah.
And on the PCT, the Pacific Crest Trail, nonetheless.
Yeah, on the south face of the Buttes, right above Sears City, and Forest took care of all their protocol on their end for blasting notifications, but I guess nobody in Sears City knew about it, and I happened to run into the general store after work that day, and the owner Larry's like, where were you working today? And I told him, he's like, was there a big old landslide out there, or what happened? I'm like, oh, I thought this would have been covered, but filled him in on what we're doing. And Sears City is a small community of probably 200, permanent residents, so word spread quickly, and everybody knew what it was.
I imagine so. Well, definitely, explosives are always fun, but I mean, you guys use that, other areas too, and it's not, like the big blast that you see in the strip mines and stuff like that. I mean, a lot of times it could just be a large rock, right? I mean, you're just basically trying to crack this thing enough so you can handle it or work with it a little bit.
Right. Yeah, and the explosives were cleared to use without a professional blaster is a Magnum Buster, otherwise known like Boulder Buster. You drill a hole into a rock, load it with water, charges. It's a kind of a form of hydrofracking. And then the other one's a micro blaster, which is a smaller unit, but those are more designed for splitting single boulders and that sort of thing. But we push both of them to their limits and try to make them bigger and more powerful because we're also trying to bench through bedrock with that stuff.
I'm still stuck on that. I mean, did you guys, before you guys all joined the crew, hydro blaster? I mean, was that ever in your repertoire of what you thought you'd be possibly doing when you came to the SBTS?
No, not at all.
No,
not really. But it was pretty awesome to learn how to use that tool. And up on Beckworth, that mountain is pretty much all volcanic hard rock. And I would say this year we might have set off almost 100 of these micro small water blasts to bench out that half-mile trail.
Yeah.
So we got pretty familiar with it.
Well, and when we can, and I know that the Downeyville crew, the mini excavators and a lot of equipment, they don't get to go into the system as far as I know Beckworth and over here on Huff, and it's just because of pure access. I mean, there's just if anybody's ever ridden any of the Downeyville trails, I mean, if you do the downhill or the cross-country course, I mean, it's remote. There's some OHV crossings out there where you can get some, four-wheel drives in, potentially with some equipment. But no matter what, you're humping it with tools, with equipment, trying to get it in there. But on occasion,
you guys get to use some pretty cool larger equipment, our mini excavators. Now, obviously, these things still have to fit on the trail. So when I say mini excavator, I mean these things are, they're small. I mean, it's an excavator, but it's small, and they can only do so much. But so who of you who all gets to use the mini excavator? Josh?
I do.
Yeah. Yeah. Dom, you been on it?
Not too much.
They're tiny, but they're
A little
mighty.
bit, yeah, done a few times.
Josh and Evan?
I got to use it a few years ago, but like you said, there is not very much access in Downeyville for Mini X. But hopefully we'll get to use one up maybe next season.
I remember during, I don't know if it was a Downeyville Classic or a Trail Work Day in Downeyville, but one of our marketing gurus for many times by the name of Mr. Mark P. I won't say his last name completely, but it sounds like Ecotich with a P on the beginning of it. Yeah, he did a little test run of a mini excavator in town and did some excavating on a brand new Sprinter van of, I think, one of our sponsors for the Downeyville Classic. And imagine that. So the rules that you guys have now, probably, some of that, the safety procedures that were written because of Mr. Mark P. So thanks, Mark, for that, because you definitely helped us stay safe with mini excavators. But those, it's like, when you guys build trail, we've been talking about maintenance, but literally when we decide to build a new trail, there is extensive amount of work that goes in before you guys even get to swing a tool. And it's not the fun stuff too. It's the environmental stuff, the NEPA, CEQA, both federal, California. It's important, as Henry mentioned earlier. There's cultural resources we have to respect, flora and fauna. Animals that are protected animals. So after you go through that and we get approved and we have this course, do we go out with shovels and pickaxes first, or does the mini excavator in many instances is that the first point of attack?
A lot of our new construction is being built with mini X, but it depends on the terrain. And personally, I like to ride trail with a lot of character to it. And so if we can, we'll hand build. But my final goal is we got to build sustainable trails because we're doing it on public land and we have certain guidelines to follow. But if we're not building trails that are fun to ride or fun, enjoyable for a target user group, then we're not doing our job right. But the Mini X is a very effective tool, but a lot of times we'll build into something and then go around it with the Mini X because the machine can't get through it, but we want to leave it chunky and rowdy for fun factor for traffic.
So with that, and the powered wheelbarrows are just what they are. It's a way to move equipment in, move big rocks around when necessary. It also allows us to use our water units. So we've got two of those from QTech, from MTech over in Chico, where it's basically a fire suppression system if needed, but it also can provide water for trail work on the trails. And that's a heavy lift getting it on the trail. The vibratory plate. So these things are all, out in the middle of the trails, these got to be carried out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. So our power wheelbarrows are the newer ones that work really good, can pack almost 1,000 pounds, are canny columns, and that's what we've got our QTAC water system set up on. And we got those QTACs both for fire suppression as well as soil moisture when we're doing dirt work and things are really dry. And so they'll pack a 85-gallon tank around. We still can't do it too far out unless we have a water source to draft off of.
Sure.
But yeah, they work pretty well.
So sometimes tools break. And breaking a handle on a Pulaski or a McLeod is one thing. Jacking up a chainsaw, snapping the chain, bending the bar, that's another thing. A lot of times, you guys have to use motos to get out in the middle of trails. Motos break. They're like any other item that you have to ride. But mini excavators, I mean, there's a lot of maintenance on these and a lot of hydraulics. And, I guess for the most part, when you think of mini excavator breaking down, you think the hydraulic hose, or something went out or a small breakage. But sometimes a little more than that happens. So who is Zach? Is that you?
Yeah.
So you gotta give us the story of the mini excavator that wanted to be two.
It was the little excavator that could, and I was moving mountains, building 9-foot tall rock back slopes, and I snapped a Yanmar VIO 17. I snapped the cab right off of the mainframe, ripping a manzanita root ball out, and it decided to fall into the hill on the back slope side rather than the down slope, so that was nice. But it was a bit of a kerfuffle, to say the least.
So you literally broke a mini excavator in two.
Yeah. It wasn't quite in two. There was still a couple inches of steel holding it together, but it was broke.
And well, we won't talk about the other part because it scares other departments when we talk about what could have happened. Well, hey, so Josh and Evan, what's you guys obviously work really remote. What's been the biggest break you guys had where you're out in the middle of nowhere and it's like, oh man, really? And what's the worst nightmare in the Downeyville system?
Josh has had a couple of good mechanical failures on these Thuron Ultra V bikes we've been riding.
And folks, that's our electric motos. We try to be as responsible as we can. So these are battery operated, kind of in between a mountain bike and a motorcycle.
Yeah, it's a great idea, and they work pretty well. They're definitely not made for working, but we're doing it, and they get us around. They're perfect for the trail system because they can get us from town to the top of the saddle and back on one battery. So if we're doing a big day. But Josh basically totally cracked along the full weld his rear swing arm, and we didn't even notice until we took it apart. But also had an instance where Downeyville's super rocky, and there's some super crux little sections you have to whittle through, and he just bashed the sprocket on a rock and folded it. So we had to take a felling axe and hammer it back into place to ride out.
Keep in mind, we've pretty much replaced every part on these things so far. I mean, the handlebars we bent just by riding on them over time. Evan and I think that we have put the most miles, the hardest miles on this model of motorcycle.
Yeah, for on Ultra V, they came out pretty recently. Yeah, they're pretty abused, but they're still working. Definitely needed some love, but it's pretty cool. Early season during log out, you come around a corner and there'd be a huge bear right there. You're silent, they don't hear you. So that was. I really prefer, honestly, the electric-based moto over the gas. It's just simpler and it's just quiet. It's pretty cool, but you're definitely beat them up.
Oh yeah, there's nothing like being so quiet that you're gonna sneak up on a black bear that's been sleeping and it's starving. Yeah, nothing like that. Nothing better than that. That's for sure. Well, you guys, this will be for the whole group. We'll go around here where we are now. So, I mean, we're pushing a little bit of time, but so what would be? Let's do some zingers. The fun stuff. And let's not bring up anything that's going to get us in trouble with HR. That's for sure. But some zingers out on trail, some funny things that have happened. In your guys' work on the trail, so who wants to go first? I know there's got to be something, or if you guys can't talk about it, I can understand that too. I don't see a lot of hands raised here.
I'll go. There was a few years ago, we had a different Zach working for us that was a good hand. It actually just started the Beckworth Peak Trail. And he found like a 4-foot long gopher snake. Cameron's running the Mini X, Zach decided to catch a snake, walk up behind the tractor, the camera's got no idea he's there, and perfectly throw the snake onto Cameron where it just draped around his shoulders. And I've never seen that guy move so fast in my life, man. He was off of that machine, and a second that snake went like 43 feet through the air. And I had to tell him, because like I used to like snakes as a kid, and I really don't like them much anymore. And I'm like, dude, if you would have done that to me, like this would have played out a little different, because I would have lost it.
Yeah, I imagine so. And folks, no gopher snakes were harmed in the production of this podcast. Just so you know.
Yeah, luckily Cameron likes snakes.
Slithered away.
Cameron likes the snakes, so
Yeah.
it works out.
That was entertaining.
Anyone else? Come on, there's got to be something. Probably youth crew stories we got to be careful of because they're minors.
I would say just like it's more general, but like just the camaraderie of it. I think like you can probably hear it a little bit, but it's just like you're out there and like you're doing stuff that's hard. And I think when you're doing hard stuff like with people, it just like brings out like this sense of camaraderie, and like everybody gets to be themselves. There's not like this like pressure to be something. I feel like you're in an office and shit, like, or stuff like we talked about before. Being in an office and stuff, and like you got to be something, but then you get out there and like everybody's just themselves, and it's really nice. It's like it's a hard feeling to describe.
So how many? Well, let's go to Josh and Evan. So any kind of zingers from the Downeyville side?
You know what I mean? I got one. It's just like kind of what Dom said. It's a bunch of little. I don't know. We see each other every day, especially in Downeyville. It's about an hour from our home base, so we camp during the week. So we're constantly. We're like a whole bitter married. Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot of little things. Like Doc dropped his helmet on the base of the butte on the PCT, so I just set up all of our rope to rappel down to have his helmet. Things like that. Crashing into each other on fiddle. Yeah. A lot of good stuff.
Helmet Rescue 101 on the buttes. The story at 9.
Didn't have to do that on Thursday.
It was pretty fun. There was one instance we're on fiddle, and I'm lopping his hand loppers ahead of Josh, and he's going ahead and getting bigger stuff. And I was going a little slow, so he turns around to check on me. And luckily, we're going slow, partying along, and I come around a tight little corner, and we just tap basically just hard enough our front tires. We both flop off the sides of the hill on the uphill side. We're just looking at each other, and it was pretty funny. Low speed, but yeah, it was pretty good. A lot of stupid stuff like that. Just drop it. It's really steep, so you'll like drop a tool or something, and it's like I have to climb into a ravine. But it's loading and unloading the bikes. You get tired, you might mess that up because they have little things like that. The ice is always riding the ice. Yeah, that's always fun. Late season. Yeah.
So how many of you guys have helped your fellow pro trail crew member out with some additional weight because they needed, some more weight in their packs? Like you added a few rocks from the trail, and so has that happened ever?
Yeah, been a while, but
I love doing that.
At the beginning of the season, Adrian put a basketball-sized quartz in my pack.
Basketball-sized quartz in your pack?
Yeah.
That would be noticeable. I think I would notice that one.
As soon as I went to pick it up, I noticed it.
Yeah, that's probably smart. Because the stewardship would own it, just so you know. We'd be good. We'd be funded for a while on that one, for sure. Well, yeah, I can imagine you guys can get in all sorts of fun trouble out there on the trails, and I think that's kind of as Dom was mentioning too. The camaraderie of working out on the trails, and you guys are doing things that nobody gets to see. And when people think of the stewardship, I mean, they think of trails, they think of our events that we do, but from the administration level to the dirt, you guys are dirt magic. I mean, that's where it happens. I mean, it's what everybody enjoys is your product. No matter however we get to that, which is pretty cool. And working on some trails that have been around since the native peoples, especially in the Downeyville system, during the gold rush to right here in the Quincy area, trails that never existed before, that literally you guys have helped create, helped build, and folks get to ride them, when nobody else, no human has ever ridden that trail before, which is pretty cool. And I think that says a lot for the hard work that you guys all put in, and of course we all want to have fun. Another area that a lot of people probably don't realize where you guys help is off the trail. And that's at our events. We produce the Lost and Found Gravel Festival, of course, the Downeyville Classic. And you guys are a huge component in that, not just getting the trails ready, especially for Downeyville, for the race, but you guys are integrated, and we couldn't pull off our events without the trail crew. So you guys wear many hats, and gals. We ask a lot of you. But during these events, sometimes you guys get to have a little fun. And the Downeyville Classic is usually the one where it's either the log pool or the river jump. Now, how many, Henry, have you done the log pool?
Not in years.
Yeah, not in years. You haven't done the river jump in years either.
I did it this year.
Did you? Oh, that's right, you did. Yeah, that's right.
Blew up my
Eardrum.
Yeah. The last time I did it was at midnight, and I don't know if Mike was the sheriff yet, but he was still either deputy sergeant or he may have been sheriff. And yeah, that was the last time I did the river jump in the middle of the night, where we almost all got arrested in Downeyville, and so we don't do that anymore. But the river jump is always super popular. Henry's a past champion. Zach, have you done it? Anyone?
No.
You guys? Anyone? No,
Never
here?
tried.
No.
I know someone in the Downeyville system has done it by the name of Josh. So Josh, the Ron's House of Big Air, of course, named after Greg's father, that's been passed away for some time, but an idea that came out over a couple of beers, and we've turned it into an infamous or famous event. So, Josh, whatever made you decide that you needed to do the infamous river jump?
I mean, I've been training for this event pretty much my whole life. It's been a really big thing for me. I have my own personal lake jump at my property here, and I train on it, pretty often. And I took this event really seriously, and unfortunately, I lost in the last round. It's hard to beat a triple backflip, a gymnast. Yes, yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna have to talk about Breakaway Promotions bringing down that ringer. I don't even think that guy worked at all. I think they just brought him down and hired him just for that.
There's definitely some conspiracy going on there. I'm looking at Josh's pond jump right now, so we'll be sure to do some training this winter. Yeah, we're gonna get him next year, that's for sure.
Well, there's an epic photo, Josh, that'll now go down in infamy, where you have got the most air I've ever seen off any river jump, and the way that the photograph was taken, it actually makes it look like you're higher than the Green Bridge right there in Downeyville, which is pretty impressive.
That's my thing. I go for the height.
Well, you definitely got it on that one. So, all right, you guys, with beverages, we could keep going for hours on this one, and I'm sure some stories would come out that I would definitely get in trouble for producing the show with that. But let's do some final thoughts here. All kidding aside, the trail crew, again, that's where the tools hit the dirt, the boots hit the dirt. And that's the product that everybody gets to see. And, it's why we're all here. It's what the entire organization does. And there are a great many things that come from that. And if we can, economic development, providing employment, for folks so they can stay in the Lost Sierra. I mean, there's a litany of things that, that you guys do. But, for the general public to come up and recreate, your guys' product is what they get to use. And, all we hear are accolades, which is great to hear how awesome the trails are, whether they're on a horse, a moto, a bike, or just out hiking. And that's from, even up in Lassen County, all the way to the Downeyville system, and even branching out further, when we get work out into other trail systems that want us to come in and help. So, for you guys that are continuing, to come back, obviously some of you
leave, you're full-time seasonal, you leave in the wintertime. So what's the, when you stop building trails and digging dirt for the stewardship, what do you do in the winter? Now, Josh, or Zach, you work on our vehicles, and so do you stay on all winter?
Yeah.
So you're on, yeah.
Yep, I'm taking care of all the vehicles and doing maintenance on all the equipment and taking care of the chainsaws and organizing the tool shed.
So how many miles does the turd have left in it? And for folks, if you don't know what the turd is, it's our brown Land Cruiser. It is a Land Cruiser, right?
It is. It's an 85 Land Cruiser, and I think that vehicle will outlive every single other one we have here because I'm making that my personal mission.
that was donated some time ago by Mike Dunn and Dunn Vineyards, and thanks, Mike, for that donation. It's hilarious. I don't think that thing will go past 45. It will. Yeah, it will. But yeah, we don't tell
It's just
anybody.
scary.
It's had 10,000 copies of the Downeyville Classic magazine. It was still like a news rag that somebody would go pick up on Reno and have to struggle to get back up into the mountains, with all that weight in the back of it, and still gets out. But it's the turd. So it's going strong. It's going to outlive us all.
Yep.
So Andrew, wintertime, what do you do?
I try and do as much snowboarding as I can.
Nice.
Mostly backcountry here in the local mountains. So I'm just kind of doing a lot of the same thing, walking out into the mountains. But I do different work, mostly snow removal in the winter just to stay working, but trying to enjoy the snow in the off season.
Nice. Dom?
Similar.
Yeah.
I like playing snow.
We're in a good location, especially backcountry. I mean, or snow machines, or backcountry skiing, and we're not that far away from the ski resorts too. Yeah. So if you want to get up on the regular slopes, can certainly do that. So Josh and Evan, your guys, what's your winter look like?
Well, I have property down here that needs a lot of maintenance, and also is pretty good for building trails on itself. So that's something we get up to quite a bit.
Yeah, no, I'm basically been out here on Josh's property doing a little help for his family. Then with some other people that me and Josh have been doing some private trail work for. So keeping busy, kind of trying to continue trail work year round if we can in some way or another. Because I don't know, just harnessing the craft, trying to get better.
Nice. So Henry, this must be like your least favorite time of the entire season because you're in the office more, paperwork, reports, year-end stuff, having to put it all together. Is that is it kind of fun to be back in the office a little bit? Maybe not so much the pressure being out, or would you just rather be outside?
I'd rather be outside in general, but kind of love-hate relationship with my office work in general. But yeah, in the winter, I help our grant writers with the project work for future projects, help get all the narrative together for different grants, and then my big thing is a soil compliance report for OHV. A lot of our work is funded by California OHV and
soil compliance reports. Now, man, that sounds like a good time. Right there.
That's
right up with lemon juice in the eye, but it's a great time.
Yeah. For our Plumas OHV maintenance grant, that's a 140-page document that I rewrite every year to successfully close out that grant. Granted, there are a lot of pictures in it. The most important thing is like change analysis, showing things either deteriorating and getting worse due to weather impacts or use impacts. Or just showing improvements from what our work has corrected. But then hopefully this year more than last, I'll be spending more time with Zach in our shop, getting all our equipment dialed in, and we've grown so much at this point. I mean, we have 4 mini X's, 4 power wheelbarrows. I don't even know how many motos we have at the moment, but
there's 14 in the shop.
Yeah, all our tools just need to be taken care of and getting back in shape. And we've got some winter work cut out for us. And along the lines with Andrew and Dom too, I love playing in the snow. So this time of year when crews are laid off and there's no digging, it's nice to get on the split board and go zone out on the snow for a while.
Well, you all certainly deserve it, and we will continue to do our part to support you guys, and make sure all the funding is there, and do everything we need to do to keep you guys working on the trail. So you certainly deserve to get out and have some fun in the winter, as you always do. And we're definitely pushing the time limit now, but I just wanted to say thank you on behalf of the admin, the office staff, for everything that we do for the stewardship. And it's only possible because we get to see the payoff, and that's what you guys do. You guys are out there doing literally backbreaking work, but we all get to enjoy it. So folks, you too. If they're a little bit of the history of the trail crew and what they do. So next time you're rolling, walking, or hoofing down one of the trails in the La Sierra, just remember what it takes. From someone donating $1 and that dollar making its way all the way to literally digging dirt until that trail is one of the best ever. And that's what we do at the stewardship. That's what you guys do. And thanks for doing what you do. And boy, just any last thoughts or anything without a lot of cuss words, and we're gonna close it out. But I just want to say you guys thanks for being on the show. Really appreciate it, all of you guys. And for those of you calling in, from those remote lands too, where technology's a problem. So that's all right. We can always make it work for you guys too. And Josh, I expect nothing less than first place next year on the river jump, especially if BP tries to bring back the ringer.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Yes, I'll do my best.
Awesome. And folks, remember too that our trail boss, and we always put Henry on the spot just because we can. And I've known him, I think, since he was 9 or 10 years old. And you'll hear this story. Well, you've probably heard this story ad nauseum from him swatting flies at Ube Expeditions in Downeyville, to now. And with he has 2 sons, that are the age, that when I met Henry. But there's a legacy there when you think about the Sierra Butte Stewardship, how it started, how the Pro Trail Crew started, from just the necessity of wanting to be able to use our trails on public lands. And from Henry and Wayno, and Cosby and Greg, in those early days of getting chainsaws stuck and swinging the first tools and getting the first grant money, to where we are today. It's been an epic journey, and certainly would not be possible without the SBTS Pro Trail Crew. So, gentlemen, thank you so much for being on the show. Appreciate everything you guys do, and love you guys, man. It's awesome.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. And for those, thank you guys out there in remote land, and for all those listening, just remember, we're coming to the winter time, but these guys right here, they're going to be ready to have those trails spick and span, trees gone, and ready for your enjoyment come springtime 2025.
You've been listening to Dirt Magic, the podcast, brought to you by the good people of the Sierra Buttes Trail Stewardship. For future and past shows, visit dirtmagicpodcast.com or search for us on your favorite listening platform. Music by The Saddle Tramps. To learn more about supporting the SBTS and upcoming events, visit sierratrails.org. I'm Martin Scheel, and I'll see you out on the trails. Thanks again for listening.